You are now about to witness the strength of street knowledge.
Alright. What's up? Hey, Mom. My name's Raul. What's yours?
Nice to meet you. I'm Emily.
Emily. Nice to meet you, Emily. So you like working out?
No.
No? You have a love-hate relationship with working out like I do?
I know it's good for me.
Okay. So epistemology, that's kind of what I'm interviewing people about. I ask you, pick a belief, and tell me something you believe in. Let it be something that you're fairly convinced of, something that is foundational to you, belief in a God, supernatural, so a political claim perhaps, something that is really near and dear to you, that you think is true, that you are really convinced of. And I can ask you questions related to your method of arriving at that thing, whatever it is.
Okay, wait, you said pick a leaf?
A belief, right.
Belief.
So I've talked to people...
I was like, what does a leaf have
to
do
with
with
it?
I was like, what does it
Right.
have to do with that? Okay.
I've talked to people about different stuff, their belief in God, ghosts, karma, supernatural, paranormal.
That's a hard one. You faced some hard people, okay, because what's something I've said to you that I believe in? Okay, because I'm not like super spiritual with a godly thing or ghosts, but I do think there's something like, what religion is it where you like think something that's out there better than you?
I'm not sure.
Okay, hold on, thinking. Oh, I wish I was a better candidate for this. Okay.
That's all right. Take your time.
I don't know if I believe in afterlife. I don't believe in reincarnation. Okay, so it has to be like spiritually related?
It doesn't have to. No, not at all. Just something that you think is true. Some fact claim about the nature of the world. Something that you really think is true.
Okay, I think, okay, on this world, humans are the only like ones that know language. They truly know language.
Humans are the only ones that know language.
Yeah. And
Okay.
I think other animals have communication systems, but they don't know language.
How do you define language?
Okay, so, hold on. So, to be able, there's like several bullets of like what composes of language, I believe. And I think one of them is when you can create sentences recursively. So we have like in English or any other language, you can have components that are within components of each other. Like that book is on a table in a room. Like you can go on and on and on.
Okay.
And I don't think other animals can do that.
Huh.
And let's see what else is it. So we associate, a lot of people think like chimpanzees can possibly learn language because they can associate like a word with an action. But I don't think that's language. I think that's like level down of a communication system. I wish I knew more of the subject. Let's see. What other components consist of language? To be able to create it from scratch, also like a sentence you say, no one else could possibly like someone could have said that, but like you can come up with a sentence that nobody else has said. And no one else.
Okay.
It's like a boring topic. It's not very spiritual.
How much does this topic matter to you? Is this like, would you say this is something that is foundational to you?
It's something I would like to study, I guess. So maybe not as foundational as like spiritual.
Like if you were to find out this thing were not true, would that pull the rug out from underneath your feet?
I'd have to do a lot of research of why that's even possible. And again, though, like I just came up with a definition for language, but like definitions that are entirely themselves are like complex. Like what is a chair? So I don't know.
Hmm.
I don't know. I don't like these things.
That's all right. That's all
I
right.
can't think of anything very meaningful.
Like controversial or something like that.
I don't have very strong, super strong like beliefs. I don't think.
Mm-hmm.
You believe in things strongly because they can change.
I don't know. Like even abortion, I thought I was like strongly against,
Mm-hmm.
but like I've been like swayed to like be more on the fence on it.
That's a good controversial topic. I would love to ask you about.
Okay, sure.
Just to hear you out on it. All right.
Originally, I had one thought, and now I'm a different.
People want to take a picture of us with this dude up?
Yeah, sure. Is that you want to do that?
Yeah.
We're going at it today, just around the community.
So this is interesting.
Hold on.
Son that goes to Indiana and one that goes to
Can I just take a snap of that dog? It's very basic of me, but. Do you know what Snapchat is, right?
No.
Okay. Well,
I mean, I know what it is. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't have an account though.
Yeah, but I try to do one Snapchat of a dog every day.
Oh.
Anyway.
Okay.
Abortion.
Abortion. So you said you were once against it and you got swayed.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to tell me maybe briefly your story as far as that goes?
Okay. So originally, I look at life I hold it very highly, and so as soon as like scientifically as like a sperm meets an egg, I think that's life. And so if you terminate it, I think of maybe the possibility that future, that something that could have been, you've now like killed it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not from a religious aspect, I don't think. And then also a factor that could be an influence is that I'm adopted, and so technically if I was aborted, I would not like no longer be here. So that was my perspective originally about abortion and like why I wouldn't do it, unless there was like some medical reason that would cause like the female to die, or maybe if it was a rape case, then like I understand. But otherwise, also the idea of like you made the choice to maybe possibly have unprotected sex, and now you've like made a result, like you made that choice, so you probably should deal with the consequences. But
so before you go into why you changed your mind, can I summarize this back to you, make sure I have it right? So you believed in, or you were against abortion originally, not for religious reasons, but because you believe that life began at conception, and you had a high view of human life. Yeah. Therefore, abortion is wrong. Yeah. And also, you mentioned the fact that somebody made the choice to have unprotected sex, perhaps, and they maybe should deal with the consequences. Yeah. Okay.
And also being adopted is a factor.
Okay. Oh yeah, you said that. Okay.
You want my sweatpants?
Okay, so interesting. So go ahead. Are there any more arguments that convinced you at the time, or is that kind of the gist of where you were?
I'm not very religious, but I technically am Catholic, so maybe that's a factor that I'm not consciously thinking about, but it could be there.
All right.
Okay.
All right. So then what happened?
I like to argue with people a lot, or just discuss things like controversial topics. And one of my roommates is totally for abortion. She said it's the woman's body, it's her option, and so the interesting thing that got me like maybe closer to being on the fence about it is that she said if you don't have the ability to raise that child in a good environment, then why bring it into this world? So that was an interesting point. I was like, hey, I'm adopted, I wouldn't be alive. But her perspective is there's plenty of people who are in orphanages, and if they were aborted, like in an abortion, they wouldn't exist, but there wouldn't be people in the orphanages suffering or going through foster homes or living like crappy lives that end up inherently contributing to more possibly people being populated. So I thought that was very interesting, and I was like, you know what, maybe that's a good reason why.
This is really interesting. Yeah. So one thing I like to do is have people quantify your level of certainty that something is true. So maybe you can quantify first your original position, like how certain were you 100% certain that abortion was wrong, and then do the same thing for your currently held position. How certain are you that it's not wrong?
I'd like to say at 90%. Like I was pretty set. Like my family and I agree, and my mom also like agrees with that standpoint. But then after talking to my roommate, I'd say I'm more.
How certain are you that it's not wrong?
It's not wrong. Okay, I'd say like I don't think I hit 90. Yeah, it's probably like 75%.
Okay, so you were originally at 90% certainty that it was wrong, and now you're about 75% certainty that it's not wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. And you mentioned the reason you gave was that maybe somebody can't raise a child, maybe they don't have the money to, and it would just result in more suffering
Yeah.
in the world.
Yeah.
Is that the main reason you would give? Anything?
I think that's the main
Okay.
reason.
All right, maybe we can focus there. So I wonder, what if, I'm thinking of this hypothetical scenario where somebody's life wouldn't result in more suffering. So let's say you have somebody who's going to be born and their life will not result in more suffering. Maybe they'll get adopted and they'll live a completely happy life. Would, in that case, would it be wrong to abort a child? Let's say you had a high level of certainty that this child's life would be wonderful even if you went ahead and had it. Would it be wrong in that instance?
Okay. I personally would not be in favor of that person if that was my child or person my child or someone I knew getting an abortion. But I guess from a different perspective, it's not my body, so I'm not going to go through the 9 months of pregnancy.
Okay.
And so, yeah. I guess in that perspective, I guess I could go back and be like, that's almost like, well, what if you did wear a condom and you just didn't have a baby? Or maybe, yeah, something like that.
So this is interesting. So you did mention the not my body reason initially. You mentioned how your roommate told you that, well, it's the woman's body, it should be her option. So that's kind of like a second reason maybe why you hold your position.
Yeah.
Would you, between those two reasons, number one, it could result in more suffering. Number two, it's her body, her choice. Would you say those hold equal weight for you? Is one more foundational?
The life part is more foundational.
The part
The part of the fact that, like, it could bring more suffering to someone's life.
Okay. Because when I presented the hypothetical to you, I noticed that even in that hypothetical where the suffering wasn't even a factor, you said that you would still fall back on, but it's her body.
Yeah, I guess that would be my underlying, my second supportive if I...
Okay.
This was why I'm at 75% and not like 50-50.
It seems like that reason, the woman's choice reason, is your, correct me if I'm wrong, is your foundational reason. If the first reason weren't even a factor, you would still maintain that it's not wrong because you have this reason right here.
Okay, so what if I reverse that and woman's body? I guess. I don't think about this a lot, so...
That's all right.
Yeah, but I'm still against the, it's not my body. It's like more like an excuse of like, oh, like I can't control this. But if I had to like advise the person, I would advise them not to.
You would advise them not to.
Yeah, abort.
For the reason being that this child will have a happy life.
Yeah.
Okay.
And, going back to my first original reason why I believe abortion was wrong.
So here's a question I'm thinking of. Would it be wrong? Like, I understand you're saying that it wouldn't be my choice or I would advise against it. Would it be wrong?
Yes, I feel like I'm still kind of like, this is like a life. And there's a bunch of other factors of like how far are you in also would contribute to that. But I feel like it would be kind of wrong. to kill something. I still
Interesting.
I still kind of have that perspective that it's something.
So that reason that you gave, as far as it resulting in more suffering, really is your foundational reason.
Yeah,
Then.
I would go with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. So right now you described yourself as being 75% certain that it's not wrong, right? What would decrease your level of certainty? What would cause you to be not so sure that this action is not wrong?
I guess maybe if there's more, wait, not wrong.
I guess what I'm wondering here is, under what circumstances would you change your mind? Under what would convince you that you were mistaken for the reason you held your belief, or
The original reason or the second reason?
for your currently held belief?
Okay.
Yeah, that it's like, what would cause you to say, to go back to, you know?
Abortion is totally wrong. I think if there was like some kind of like scientific thing about the baby's brain, like being like having a conscious, like maybe if I got more into that, or if I became more spiritual and for some reason thought that like as soon as his inception happened, it was like a human being.
Oh yeah, maybe we can go back to that reason. Because originally you believed that the reason why you were against abortion, you said, was because you believed that life began at conception.
Yeah.
Is that still a belief you have? Do you currently
It's
hold
not a
that
strong
life?
belief. It's like something I'd like to think, but maybe I dismiss now so that I can get to the other side of my argument.
Something you dismiss now so you can get to the other side of your argument?
Yeah, like validate why I think abortion's okay now.
So if you
change
had
the
to...
timeline, it makes it easier to say, okay, well, it's not a thing yet, so I'm not killing something.
If you had to answer yes or no, how would you answer this question? Life begins at conception.
I don't know.
I don't know. Sometimes I don't know is the best answer.
I don't know. I haven't decided. I
Okay.
haven't decided, so.
That's fair.
I don't
That's
know.
okay.
Like maybe. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hopefully.
Huh.
not,
Would
maybe.
you say that the way you're answering this question now was different than the way you would have answered it when you thought abortion was wrong? Like if I were to ask you that question.
I would have said yeah. I would have said yeah.
Huh.
Life begins at conception. But like now I need to validate why the reason I'm on the other side. So that's like one of the reasons. Like I'm like, oh well, maybe if I don't consider it at this timeline, I'm not doing wrong.
It's really That's really interesting. So the reason you changed your mind was not because you came to a different conclusion concerning when life begins. It was for another reason, but now it sounds like you find yourself in a position where you have to kind of reconcile.
Yeah, like validate my switch. Yeah.
Huh. Cool. Well, I appreciate it, Emily.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sorry. Are you cold?
Cool.
Yeah. All right, go get warm.
Conversation.
Bye. Yeah, take it easy. Thanks.